You're the chairman, you do it. I would like to recommend passage of Proclamation 16-33 as amended.
I have a motion and a second to pass Proclamation 16-33 concerning WMA hunting season limits and miscellaneous regulations. Any more discussion from the commission? Or the committee, I should say. Any more from the audience? All in favor of passage of amended Proclamation 16-33, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Proclamation 16-33 is amended, passes Wildlife Management Committee.
Chairman Teague, forgive me, and I'm getting excited about this. We're having a good day. Of course, Commissioner Watson had some good news today. John Gregory just let me know that Carly Trent, the young lady who the Amber Alert was out for, has been found. She is alive. The uncle's in custody. And earlier in the meeting, I was going to share this at the end, but this agency has had a significant role working with TBI and FBI in trying to find her. We had resources that have been used, whether it's ATVs, even the plane that we use to be able to spot the animals. Our staff has been in the middle of this, so let me commend our staff, all their efforts, and again, forgive me for interrupting, but to me this is pretty exciting news. We've had a good day, so excuse me.
So now I'd like to move on to the next proclamation and cover the agency recommendations. This is Proclamation 16-34, and it covers the season setting for national wildlife refuges. And I'd just like to preface that these national wildlife refuges are federal areas, and they are staffed and run, and decisions are made by the federal staff that work on them, and they utilize our state system to establish these seasons. So TWA staff has not weighed in on these individual recommendations. On the Hatchie National Wildlife Refuge, the recommendation is to close the area west of I-40, Interstate 40, during some of the deer hunts and spring squirrel season. On the Chickasaw and Lower Hatchie National Wildlife Refuge, the recommendation is to close hunting seasons in the relevant areas when the Mississippi River reaches 28 feet, which is the major flood stage. And on Reelfoot and Lake Isom National Wildlife Refuge, the recommendation is to add a deer young sportsman quota hunt. And that concludes the recommendations relevant to the National Wildlife Refuge Proclamation 16-34.
Thank you. Any discussion? Any discussion from the audience concerning?
I move approval of 1634.
I second.
Have a motion and a second. Any more discussion from the commission? Anyone from the audience? It's a committee vote. All in favor of Proclamation 16-34 as presented, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Proclamation 16-34 passes committee.
The next proclamation is 1635, relevant to the furbearer season setting. Roger Applegate will make this recommendation.
Thank you. This may be the shortest or the smallest one of the day. So we have two items here that are included in this proclamation that for you to consider today. One of them is allowing the utilization of small game hunters, that is to say raccoon, possum hunters on bear reserves during the bear hunting season. And so this was described to you last month by Dan Gibbs when he discussed some of the bear management issues. And so what this is doing now is opening up bear reserves to allow some raccoon possum hunting with dogs. And then the other is the issue that came up at the last commission meeting in April. And so this is a proposal to extend the raccoon season, opening it on the 1st of July at sunset, and then closing it on the third Saturday in September at sunrise with one raccoon per night limit. And then the regular season that we normally have opens actually that same Saturday then at sunset, and we'll continue on until the sunrise on the 28th of February. So this is an additional opportunity to take raccoons, and mainly it's focused on opportunity to take raccoons in situations where you really need to do that to help with training dogs. So it's not strictly speaking a training season, which of course remains open year-round. And this pertains to private lands as opposed to public lands. So it doesn't interfere with any of the management situations we have currently on WMAs relative to raccoon hunting. So that's my proposal.
Just for clarification, the regular raccoon season, does it state that the limit is, I believe is it two? Does it say 2 raccoon per night limit?
Yes.
Or does it specify per person, or?
Yeah, no.
It reads just like that?
Yeah, yeah, it reads as per night, per each person, individual person that's in that particular group.
I ask that because I often hear people discuss limits per party,
Yeah,
and that's something that I don't believe we have
Yeah.
as far as the raccoon season
yeah, that's
go
a
on
different,
private.
that's a different approach. But what this does then is it changes it so that it changes and goes then on the third Saturday is sort of you might say the pivot day. So that's our normal opening for raccoon hunting as it stands right now, is on that third Saturday of September. And it starts at sunrise, and it remains starting at sunrise. And this season will close essentially sunrise that same day. And so we'll just sort of have a change from the 1 raccoon to the 2 raccoon is essentially what'll happen.
Perfect. Thank you. Any discussion from the commission? Any discussion from the audience?
I'd like to move to approve Proclamation 16-35.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve Proclamation 16-35. Anyone else from the commission have any, from the committee, have any comments? Anybody from the audience? All in favor of passage of Proclamation 16-35, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Proclamation 16-35 passes Wildlife Committee.
Thank you.
Thanks, Roger.
And with your permission, I'll ask Colonel Taylor to come up.
Good afternoon. I'm Lieutenant Colonel Kate Taylor. I was tasked by Colonel Ryder to look at the manner and means proclamation, and we formed a committee out of all the 4 regions with help from Mark's office and Colonel Ryder himself, and went through and looked at the manner and means, and we had a few things that we used that we made changes on that were basically for clarification. As we go through these, we'll talk about those. First one was in section 2.7F, which talks about electronic light amplifying night vision scopes or devices while in possession of firearms and archery between sunset and sunrise. What we added in that was a thermal imaging device, and the reason we did that, we get a lot of calls about if they could, instead of using night vision, they could use a thermal imaging device. And we added other similar devices because of the technology that's coming out now for night hunting devices. This wouldn't eliminate somebody from using a thermal imager if it wasn't attached to a rifle as a sighting scope device. The next one we had mentions after check-in, documentation on approved TWRA form or TWRA mobile application shall be available for inspection by TWRA personnel until the time of final processing. We actually do not have an approved TWRA form to put these on. So we were getting inundated with calls about what form do we put these on? And there are no approved TWRA forms, so we went ahead and added this wording of, that the documentation of the TWRA confirmation number from an approved TWRA check-in station, TWRA website, or TWRA mobile application shall be made available for inspection by TWRA personnel until the time of final processing. So if they have their confirmation number written on a piece of paper they had in their vehicle, or if it's on a screenshot on their phone, or if it's from a check-in station, whatever, our officers will accept that as a proof that the animal was checked in. Next one, section 6, number 1, evidence of an animal's sex, species, and antler status, if applicable, must remain with the animal while afield. And we added to that, additionally, turkeys must remain intact until checked in. And the reason we did this is it's quite easy for some people that are so minded to cut the beards or spurs off, and that's all they're interested in keeping, sticking them in their pockets. And if you're gonna locate that, you would have to search everybody that comes out of the woods the way we're set up now. So they've got till midnight to check it in. So we felt that if they had to leave the turkey remain intact until the time it was actually checked in, that would help the law enforcement side of that, eliminate that problem. Under miscellaneous, during the deer archery only season, a fall hunter may not be in possession of both archery equipment and firearms. And we felt like this is just something we had to do because of the handgun carry permitting. We added to that she may not be in possession of both archery equipment and shotguns and or rifles, because they can legally, anybody that has a handgun carry permit can legally carry that firearm. They just can't hunt with that firearm while they're in possession of it on a archery hunt. I believe that's all it is. Any questions?
Cape, I've got one, and until you explain about the turkeys, why would, for a different reason, why wouldn't we require all big game to remain intact until it's checked in? It seems like you could get a turkey breast in the freezer or a deer in your backyard and process without checking it, and you're done by midnight, and nobody knows. So why wouldn't we require all big game to remain intact until it's checked in?
Well, I think for the deer, it says that it's got to remain where you can determine the sex of it and so on like that until it's checked in, but I don't have a good answer for that.
I mean, wouldn't that help?
The tagging, the way we're set
I don't know
up on
whether it would or not. I mean, I'm just thinking.
I don't think I think on the deer we're fine. The turkey was a little bit of an issue because they could breast it and stick it in a backpack, or we had an issue where somebody was just cutting beards and legs off one of the spurs, and that's all they wanted to keep was the trophies off of them. And we felt like it was so easy to conceal the parts off that turkey, whereas a deer would be much harder to do, but they've got till midnight, like you said, to check that deer in.
I got one question on the use of electronic lights or whatever. If you've got a hog exemption, you can use a
Can you go back
night
to that
vision
slide?
scope or
On the
thermal.
on the
Can you go back to
exemption.
the lights?
Pardon?
Can you put the light slide on there while we're, I was,
On the hog exemption, we can put bait on there or night hunting or anything like that, so it would make that where it would be legal if they were on the exemption.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. So.
I believe I'm correct in that.
do all these need to fall in line with the handgun carry permit? Like the other one, like we changed language from firearm to specific guns that weren't considered, because you know, if it's a non-hunting weapon, does it need to be specified like we did? We do it sometimes and it seems like
So,
F7F, you know, at the top, you know, it says firearm. I don't know. I mean, it's a technicality. Does it matter? Because we made the point to change it, I think, on the other one. But the word firearm versus shotgun, rifle was, you know, I think
well, I think,
that may be in a law
I
question.
think
don't know.
that what we're saying here is they can't be in possession of one that has these scopes mounted to them at night is my thoughts on this. And I don't know if, I guess a person could have one of these with a laser pointer on it.
Yeah, I'm talking about the top one. Basically, it says you can't have a light amplifying night vision scope or device on possession of a firearm or archery tackle. I get the archery tackle, but technically you can have a firearm on you anytime you want with a carry permit.
Right.
So for that, I just, it's a technicality, and obviously I'm not an attorney, far from it, but
No,
I noticed that we made the change on another one. I just didn't know if, I know we like to get everything.
what do you think about that, Cheryl?
That's a Cheryl question. I mean, it's a technicality, but I don't know if it's worth messing with. It's
If you
obviously.
want to be consistent, you'll change it the way that it was changed on the other one.
Well, I think we're looking right now maybe at having to try to change some of these because of the long guns and go through some of our rules to maybe make some changes in the future on some of those.
Yeah, eventually we.
Because you can carry a long gun in your car loaded all the time now,
Yeah,
wherever you want to.
just as they come up, we can do that and eventually, hopefully it'll be consistent, but now would be the time to change this.
I mean, I think it's pretty clear, but.
Do we have the other language? You don't have to have a collar.
What language?
Oh, no. Chairman Teague's referring to some language that we've used in other prohibitory proclamations regarding lights and firearms and so forth. Do we have an example of that language that we could look at?
I do not.
I think it's 2 slides ahead. We had one, right? 1 slide ahead?
That's the one that's on the other one together with it. You're talking about the one about the firearm? That?
Yeah, I mean, I just, you know, obviously, I don't read this kind of language all the time, but if I read something 5 or 6 times and I'm still going back to read it again to make sure I have it clear, then I'm afraid, you know, it might be a little difficult for someone who's not as concerned as I am.
So you would make it read that it would say specifically shotguns and/or rifles, so as not to.
I guess, and I don't know the specific language of a carry permit. I'm not sure it's only.
It's only a handgun. It only pertains to handguns, does it
We were
not?
speaking more to the scope or sighting device that's on there as opposed to the pistol. They could still be in possession of a pistol anytime as long as they have the carry permit. But if they were in possession, I think, of one that had a night vision scope on it or a FLIR type device on it, then they would be in violation.
Seems to me it should say attached to it.
Yeah, I mean, it seems redundant. There's like 2 there, the top one and the bottom one. Say,
So you're saying you could have
one's before or after sunset and one's.
you could have the device, you could have the rifle.
How would you have a night vision
Right.
device?
You
Would
can't use it
be
just-
prohibited during the
just
daytime.
as a scope to shoot.
But this reading is if you can't even have them in the car together.
But
it's
it's pass it and
attached.
let it go on.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, Colonel, you can help me on this, but I believe some of the confusion here is how we're presenting it. That we're showing what it used to be,
Go back to.
and then and as we go down, we're showing the change.
Okay.
So that, what you're suggesting is what was changed. So we're just showing, this is how it used to be, this is how it would read once we're changed, as we do the mark out and the change. So I think what you're suggesting is exactly what has changed. It's just the way we presented it. Is that,
The new wording is on the bottom.
Yeah.
The current wording is on the top.
yeah, so the change is reflecting what you want done, I believe.
Yeah, unless the firearm's an issue, but that's up to y'all. Right, it says farm,
Would-
and that technically is not true, I think, so, right? I mean, but you're right in some ways, I got a little confused, but,
I thought,
that's a technicality, I don't care, I mean, I'm not gonna do either one, I don't own these devices.
There
but
are lasers
I do have to
that
vote
are
on it.
attached to handguns. Now, whether that would fall in the category of other similar device, I don't know. But that would be my only observation on that.
I'm done.
Any other comments, possibly a motion?
I move that we pass Proclamation
16,
1630.
7, yes, 6. That's just the start of the next slide. I have a motion
36.
to adopt Proclamation 16-36. Do I have a second? Have a motion and a second. Any discussion from the commission? Any discussion from the audience? All in favor? On the committee? Say aye. Sorry, go ahead. All opposed? Proclamation 16-36, manner and means, passes committee with quite a bit of discussion. You're back.
I am back.
Maybe we want to amend this. We might.
All right. I'm here to present to you Proclamation 1637 that concerns the Holston Army Ammunition Plant. This is a land that was previously designated by Proclamation 90-15 as a wildlife refuge, and this made restrictions as to possibilities for fishing and hunting. So the Department of Defense requested that we change it, and we recommend that we change it to a waterfowl refuge to allow for more opportunity for fishing and hunting.
That's in my area. Can you clarify? I'm confused as what really it does when we're to make this change just in the wording to waterfowl refuge. Why does that give more opportunity? I don't understand.
In the old proclamation, it was listed with about 3 other areas, and they were, as a wildlife refuge, there are specific limits as to what hunting and fishing can be done. But waterfowl allows you to allow a wider range. If you would like, I know John Mike is more familiar with the area.
We won't get into that. I didn't understand that when they designated waterfowl, it was going to make any difference. I know we have turkey hunts, deer hunts. Are they going to open up to waterfowl again hunt too? That's why it's going to be just a waterfowl refuge only then?
Designated as a waterfowl refuge, first of all, it allows fishing on the river outside of the ordinance, but the zone for the refuge went beyond the ordinance boundaries originally and still does. And the areas outside the ordinance would have the ability to fish the river, which in the wildlife refuge classification, it is really closed to fishing and hunting that stretch of river outside of the ordinance. So by doing the waterfowl refuge, it allows fall goose hunting legally, wood duck hunting in the fall, and it would be closed to waterfowl hunting from mid-November? Yes. Mid-November to the end of February. So it's, instead of it being closed year-round to really fishing and hunting by calling it a wildlife refuge, it's only closed during that short period during the late waterfowl season. And it still allows the ordinance to have hunts on their property that they manage, and both turkey and deer hunting. How many miles does it go above or below the ordinance over here? It basically goes up to the railroad bridge. That's the first bridge. Where the big sign is telling you not to go below? Probably. It should. Because of wildlife refuge, you shouldn't have been fishing.
Back across the line.
Yeah, the one that told me to get back across the line. Well, now, if you come to the ordinance boundary, then you're getting onto federal issues and federal protection, and that area would still be closed.
But you just right there at that very first bridge below the south fork, below where the north fork.
Well, it's
So
the first railroad bridge
It's the
that's
interplant,
upstream
the
of,
boundary within the proclamation that we wrote up. The upstream boundary is what they call the interplant railroad bridge.
Okay.
And then the lower boundary, we moved it up a little bit to the boundary itself of the ordinance property, because it did take in the VFW boat ramp, and I believe there's a small boat ramp. I think that's the name of it, so don't hold me to the exact access area, but we moved above that to the true.
Duck hunting will be allowed from the VFW ramp downriver.
Yeah.
Okay.
correct.
Before it wasn't, and then we changed it, so that was, we talked to Bruce Cole there at the ordinance, and Tim Sane talked to the people there and the folks in the city there, as far as the correct officials, and they didn't have any problems with us changing that lower end boundary.
Y'all may want to get a list of all the waters that are currently closed to fishing in Tennessee and get Chad a copy. I think he's hitting everywhere that he can possibly go in a boat.
No. Do that next year after we're off, okay?
Well, he could just send him a copy just so he'll be sure. Where are we?
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of Proclamation 16-37.
Did I hear a second down there, or was that just a grunt? Was that you? No. I don't think so. It sounded like somebody grumbling down there. All right, I have a motion and a second. Proclamation 16-37. Any discussion from the commission? Any discussion from the audience? Okay, call for a vote. All in favor of passage Proclamation 16-37, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Proclamation 16-37 passes committee. Thank you.
I'd like to invite Chuck Yost up. He has a presentation for you.
Chuck, how long is your presentation?
I'm about to launch into about a 15-minute disease talk, and I can only make that so sexy, so if you need a break.
Don't it take like a real quick one? I'm gonna take one regardless. This is my committee. I guess we're gonna take a.
We'll take is 10 minutes all right?
10 minutes is
We'll
great.
take a 10-minute break. We'll come back in here at 4:25. Thank you.